Welcome back, guys. Mullins Raw Fitness here. Video number 3 of Check's 6 Foundation Principles of Optimal Health. We've went over a little bit. The last 2 videos are yin and our yang. We talked about anabolic, catabolic. We've talked a little bit about thinking and breathing. Today we're going to talk about sleep. Everybody loves sleep, don't they? But do we get good quality sleep? Most of us, the answer is no, unfortunately. Sleep, it's a miracle drug. Okay, most of us don't look at it like that, but sleep is a miracle healing worker. One of the best ways to heal your body, whatever you're dealing with, is to get proper and good amount of sleep. I got my little thing here, sleeping pills, $4.99. Sleep equals free, guys. It's free. We do not get charged for sleep. You can do it and use it anytime you want, and I suggest you do that. Okay, unfortunately, we have all these people, out there that are taking all these different medical drugs. We're looking at different ways to heal all these different symptoms that we have. We always look at symptoms, and we don't look at the underlying cause. We may have any one of these problems: weak immune system, adrenal fatigue, our hormones are all kind of all over the place. And we take all these medicines for it when we're really not looking at maybe it's due to sleep deprivation, which causes all of these. And it's sad to say that all these people are relying so much on the medical drugs when if we can just get quality sleep, it could really help improve a lot of that. So, one of the things sleep deprivation does is a weak immune system. A lot of times you'll see people that have poor sleep quality, they get sick a lot. Their immune system is not working how it should. Adrenal fatigue, I can't remember how many people I've met that have had adrenal fatigue, me included at one point. Very bad as well. Chronic fatigue syndrome, similar, adrenal fatigue, your adrenals are what produce cortisol. Many of you probably have heard of the word cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. You physically cannot, it's very hard, I guess I should say, to go to sleep when you have a bunch of stress hormones pumping throughout your body, because the stress hormone cortisol is an awakening hormone. It's telling your body, wake up, wake up, wake up, it's time to get on our day. Okay, and so if we have that going on all night long, because of stress response from things that we'll talk about a little bit later on, it's going to be extremely hard to get quality sleep, and you'll see that a lot, and then you'll become adrenal exhausted. And for those that are here for weight loss, for instance, try to lose some weight when your adrenals are exhausted. It's going to be extremely tough. Cortisol is not only an awakening hormone, it's also a fat storing hormone. Okay, it's telling your body to get into a fight or flight, like we talked about in the last video, response. So your body's shutting down all its bodily functions, or limiting them, just so it can either run from danger or attack the event that you're looking at. So if you're constantly producing the cortisol telling you to hold on to fat because you're in a survival situation, you can't be burning fat when you don't know, you're trying to run from your life. It's very, very critical that our adrenals are working properly and when they're not overly exhausted, when we're trying to be healthy, trying to get good quality sleep, and trying to burn fat. So as we just talked about, cortisol is a hormonal imbalance. A lot of hormones get jacked up from the lack of sleep. Again, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but that's due to, our as we talked about with sleep, is a repair system. Sleep is the best way to repair the body, and repair the hormonal, the endocrine system. And if we're not getting sleep, that's not going to happen. One of the biggest things you see, though, is people that are sleep deprived crave coffee, sugar, little other stimulants, energy drinks, all that, poor food choices, and you see that all the time. The unfortunate look at that, though, is, you're sleep deprived, say your adrenals are fatigued, exhausted, you're constantly producing stress all the time, you're producing that cortisol. When you're producing that cortisol, you're not getting good sleep. So you always see people wake up, like, oh my gosh, give me my coffee, I can't function without my coffee, and what do you think the coffee stimulant, the sugars, what do you think they do to the body? They have a stress response. They tell it to produce more cortisol. Okay, so what do you think is going to happen? We're going to get even less sleep. We're going to get even worse sleep, especially if you start doing this later in the day. Okay, caffeine, sugar, you know, a lot of this stuff, stimulants, they have a shelf life of 6 hours. You know, so you're looking at cortisol being pumped for 6 more hours. If you have a cup of coffee or some sugar with dinner or after dinner, you know, that's a long time before your cortisol starts dipping down, and we'll talk about why that's a problem in a moment. So again, as you see, it's a vicious cycle. Where's my coffee? Where's my coffee? Cortisol is being pumped. Less sleep. So what do you think you have the next day? You want even more coffee. You crave even more. And then you keep getting tired. One thing I tell my clients, what I do personally, is if there's a day, you know, maybe I've been busy, I've been making a lot of videos, this or that, or I'm working a lot. If I notice I'm a little more fatigued, my body's needing more sleep and more rest, I actually will stay away from coffee, and because that's the last thing my body needs. So I try to do more working in exercises, relaxation exercises, breathing exercises, till I know my nervous system can handle the coffee. And when I do feel good is usually when I'll have a cup of coffee or an espresso. So we'll look at that. So what I want to do now is I kind of want to draw a little kind of graph for you to kind of show a little bit more about what I'm talking about here. Our body goes through what's called has a circadian rhythm. Okay, this circadian rhythm is mainly talking about your hormones, mainly talking about cortisol, as we mentioned, but also melatonin. Much of you probably have heard of melatonin. What melatonin is, cortisol, as we talked about, is an awakening hormone. Okay, it should be highest early in the day. As you can see on our chart, we'll start here, 6 a.m. Okay, till the next day at 6 a.m. Okay, your cortisol, we'll say 9, 12, we'll jump over to 6 p.m., 10 p.m., and we'll just say midnight. Okay, so this is our nice little chart here. So I'm gonna show cortisol as the red line. Okay, cortisol will be at its highest from about 6 to 9, should be, I should say, and then it'll slowly start decreasing around 12, and then it should be about stagnant about 6 until you get about 6 a.m. and then you'll see it jerk back up. Okay, so it's the same thing. It should be a nice even keel line like that. Okay, highest in the morning from 6 to 9 a.m. Could even get up to noon, and then it should start slowing down till about 6 p.m. and then it should be pretty stagnant, pretty low. Now, when cortisol levels are high, melatonin levels have to be low. Melatonin will be blue in this, for instance. And vice versa, when melatonin levels are high, cortisol levels are low. So obviously, when we're first waking up, our body's telling us, hey, we have to go out, look for our food, get ready for the day. Our body doesn't know that we're just waking up, going to the fridge, and getting our food. Our body's still in the mechanism of, okay, I got to get ready for the day. I got to wake up. Predator's going to be coming. I got to look for my next prey, and so on. So melatonin is the opposite. Melatonin's pretty stagnant. Okay, it might start to slowly come up, but then at 6 we start to increase, and it usually is highest about 10 to 12, and then it'll slowly start dipping down till about 6. Okay, so as you can see, they're pretty in unison. They should be pretty in unison if you're in line with the 6 foundation principles. Okay, so cortisol levels are highest usually should be 6 to 9 a.m. Melatonin are usually highest about 10 to 12 p.m. Or 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. midnight, and then they slowly start to decrease. 6 a.m. cortisol takes back over, melatonin dips back down. Okay, easy enough. Now what happens is, between 10 and 2 a.m., we go through what's called a physical repair. This is where your body's preparing or regenerating everything at the cellular level, refiltering blood, all that. Your organs are getting rest. Okay, your organs need time to rest. That's why sometimes fasts are good for you. And if we're not in line with this, if our cortisol levels are high during the 10 and 2 p.m. or 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., or we're not getting to sleep during those times, it can be very, very detrimental to our physical repair system. Okay, and then from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., we go through a psychological repair. Okay, the brain, the nervous system, even the hormone system, because they're dealing with that. And those are, you will start to repair those systems from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. So a lot of times you see people that stay up till 1, 2 in the morning. Mentally they may still be fine. They may wake up in the next morning if they're waking up at 8, 9 p.m. Mentally they may still feel fine, but physically they're drained, they're exhausted, they got bags under their eyes, they look like crap, right? So that's key, and it could be vice versa. You're waking up at 2 in the morning or waking up really early, you got to go to work. You may be mentally exhausted all the time, so it shows you. Now this is what we should be doing. Okay, now I'm going to kind of go over what most of us look like, right? Because most of us are not in line with that. Okay, we got our same schedule, same thing. Okay, we'll go 12. Okay, so we got our same schedule. We'll use red and blue. Okay, so we'll see. And again, your physical and psychological repair are not going to happen if cortisol levels are high. Okay, they're not going to kick in, and you're going to miss out on all that. So what happens? Our cortisol levels start shooting up at 6. Okay, we start coming here. We're going through our work day. Okay, now we start eating a bunch of refined carbs and sugars for lunch. Okay, it stays up, maybe even increases. Okay, and then we have a cup of coffee for dinner. We come home. We get a really intense workout. We're here. We watch our favorite TV show that's causing us a bunch of stress. And the flickering the lights cause a cortisol reaction. Bam, and now all of a sudden it's 11 o'clock and now we start to dip down. You see the difference, how much more stress we're under till 10, 11 o'clock? Okay, say it's 11 o'clock. Now our melatonin's stagnant throughout, right? Okay, because when one's high, the other's low. Okay, now it'll start to slowly come up. Okay, and then dip back down because at 6 p.m. I'm sorry, it's supposed to be 6 a.m. 6 a.m. you can see the process starts over. So look at all this cortisol response, adrenal response, all this fat storing response, and all this recovery and anabolic that we talked about response here, and look how less of time we're getting under there. Okay, so we're staying up late, we're doing all these things to add stress response here, we're having a glass of wine here at night, all this is happening, and now, we're in now all of a sudden our physical repair response is, instead of from 10 p.m., it starts at 1, and it goes till 2. So now you have all these little issues, see how small it is, and then our repair, physical or psychological repair. I'm sorry, that's AM again, AM. So now you're dealing with all these aches and pains. Your body's not recovering. You're dealing with all this physical stress, and your body can't heal properly. You're dealing with a nagging injury all day long because your body doesn't have the proper abilities to heal. Very bad, guys. Not good, right? So we always wonder, why can't I get rid of this, or why can't I do that? This is a big reason why, okay? And I understand, guys, some of you have work, you have night shifts, maybe you just had a child, that keeps you up at night. That's fine, but when that's happening, you got to be in line with the other 5 principles of the foundation to make up for it, and that's going to make it that much more important when you do. So, Raw's 5-step action plan. What can we do to help? Dim the lights, okay? One of the best things, especially at about from 6 p.m. on, is start to slowly dim the lights. So whether you have a light that dims or use less lighting, use candlelight, anything like that, your body will not produce as many stress hormones at night, and you'll start producing more melatonin, which will help you get to bed on time, get you repaired, get you a nice well-oiled machine there. Okay, your body has receptors in the eyes and in the skin actually that it gets from light particles and telling your body to awake. Okay, the light, your body thinks the synthetic light is actually the sunlight, so it's going, hey, I need to wake up, wake up, wake up. So we're constantly looking at keeping the lights on at night. Then we watch our favorite TV show right till before we go to bed. The flickering the lights and the lights causes a lot of stress hormones to be pumped. That's not good. So what happens when the stress hormones are high? Melatonin's low, and we can't go to sleep, or at least get a good quality sleep. Remember, the cortisol has a shelf life of about 6 hours or so. Limit foods. This kind of has some subcategories. Certain foods that can cause issues. High glycemic foods, as we talked about with the sugar. Okay, when sugar will cause a stress response. Sugar will cause same thing with kind of refined grains, stuff like that. Will cause a stress response, keep the stress high, melatonin will stay low. Same thing with stimulants like coffee. Preferably have your coffee, ideally before noon, okay, if you can. 3 p.m. really, I guess, at the latest, because remember, it has a shelf life of about 6 hours, so you want all that out of you and not affecting you 6 hours before you go to bed, or else you're going to have trouble. And low inflammatory foods, okay, stuff like grains that are very inflammatory to the body, or pesticides in fruits, so non-organic fruits. The pesticides are very toxic to the body. Or looking at the quality of your meat, getting commercially raised beef, chicken, stuff like that. It can cause a lot of inflammation in the body, or making sure, which we'll talk about in the nutrition aspect, you don't have food sensitive, you're not sensitive to any food, or you have leaky gut syndrome, things of that nature. Because when your body's inflamed, when your gut is inflamed, you're trying to detoxify all these pesticides on the fruit, stuff like that. It's going to shock your nervous system. You're going to have a stress response. Cortisol levels will be high, and that's not good. You may notice if you ever wake up in the middle of the night and your stomach kind of hurts a little bit. That could be a little indicator, or a parasite indicator. Keep it as dark as possible. Okay, cover all the lights in the room. Get some of those heavy-duty curtains on your windows if you can. Those will be really beneficial. Keep all electronics as far away from you as you can. Electronics are an actual stressor, so keeping your phone by you, your laptop by you, that is an electromagnetic stress, and that's just, again, more stress, right? So try to keep them away from you. If you have an alarm clock, keep it far away from you, maybe on the other side of the room if you can. Get to bed by 10:30. As we talked about here, that's when your melatonin should be rising, cortisol should be dipping. That's when physical repair is supposed to start. So getting to bed by 10:30 is critical, guys. Get to bed 10:30 at the latest. Even if you feel you don't have alone time, you have kids or whatever, or you can't get stuff done, it would be much more beneficial to wake up earlier than to stay up later. Okay, this is very important, guys. And then the last one is looking at the type of exercise. The reason I say that, heavy-duty exercise, high-intensity exercise late at night is a stress response. So even though we normally look at it as a good thing, you got to be very careful doing that too much, too often, especially if you're constantly stressed or not getting good quality sleep. And the type of exercise you should be doing is, like we talked about in the last video, is the breathing exercises, the calming exercises, the relaxation exercises that induce the parasympathetic nervous response, which will help with melatonin, which will help put you to bed. So, thanks for joining me, guys, on the sleep principle, foundation principle. If you're reading this past 10:30, you better get to bed now. See you at the next one, guys.